Due to circumstances beyond
Oh.
our control, the DC portion of the show has been dropped.
Fuck you, DC.
Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm okay. I had to go to the doctor quickly yesterday.
Oh, what'd you do now?
I have an addiction to cheddar cheese, but it's only mild.
Now I have a headache for the whole show.
Good. And the
Boy, there's a lot of news in comics that we'll be getting to.
And I wanted to bitch about the weather. Last week when we were recording, it was like 70 degrees and sunny and warm. Cory, tell them what the temperature is now.
I don't know what it is now, but I remember last Monday, I left the group home at 7 a.m. and it was 70 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do a sleep shift that night, and I had to come in for the evening. I got there around 7, and it was 35 degrees.
Yep.
The temperature dropped 35 degrees in one day.
Yeah, and it's at 31 right now, and a little light snow. We had another snowstorm come. We had a couple snowstorms come ripping through, but they all came in kind of like they were supposed to. I had to.
Like a wrecking ball.
Well, the one came in and it was like, well, we might get 4 inches, we might get 6. What do we end up with? It 8.
Yeah.
We're like the second snowiest November, or I should say, season on record in Minnesota. The first one, of course, was the infamous Halloween blizzard, which we've talked about in the past a few times. That was like at this time we'd had already 31 inches of snow. So we're up to like about, I think, is it 13 inches or 18, somewhere around there. And then 2 days later, we had what they call a snow squall, which is just like a rain squall where it just hits hard and fast and blots everything out. And it actually caused a big fire crash up on one of the highways about like 50 miles out of town. And nobody died, but it hit fast. And, people forget. Especially us cold weather types, get a little snow on the ground and you're going to have to drive a little carefully. I was fine, though. I had 4-wheel drive. Rip that sucker up. Let's go.
Yeah, 4-wheel drive is great, except on ice.
Well, I didn't drive on ice. And when I saw ice coming, I would slow down. I wouldn't accelerate. I wouldn't hit the brake. I would just ride over it.
Because every year around this time, and I'm not going to get to see much of it because I have no morning commute anymore.
He's not called the rat bastard for nothing, folks.
There are the people who, it's slick out, and I'll be driving like 30, 40 miles an hour because, hey, it's slick, and you hit the brakes, and that doesn't stop you. And you get the people in the 4-wheel drives who get really mad, and, they're in their SUV, and they go around you, and then about 3-4 miles up, you see that they're facing the other way in a ditch.
Maybe in the ditch.
4-wheel drive does nothing on ice.
Take that, bitch. You in the ditch. Got yourself an itch.
But
you can spend all that time in scritching.
The other thing is it gets dark so soon.
Yeah, that throws me off too because it's like I was in training all week. I'll talk a little bit about it when we get to Freaking and Geegan. And it's like we get there and I got to get up at 6, and by 6, 7, it's usually bright or the sun is starting to come up for now. And then, bright, sunny. I go home about 4:30. By 6 o'clock, it's pitch dark.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed, but I still got 4 hours before I even think of going to bed. Otherwise, I'll be up at like 3 in the morning. Hey.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. What the hell? It's 4 p.m.
Not that we want Simon and Garfunkel to sue us, but, hey.
But that's not why we're here.
No, we're here because... Wait, why are we here?
It's previews.
Oh, the wonderful catalog that I ran to the source to buy, and they were gracious enough to give me one. And then, of course, my box stay showed up on Saturday.
By the way, my box stay is showing at any time today.
Ooh, what fun! Yeah, I had 2 boxes because I ordered a couple gigantic items, toys and some other figures and stuff. And of course, I go through the comic items and look at, wait a minute, I'm missing this. Where are they? So I get on emails and I just send a quick note. Hey, I'm missing these 2 items. And then I notice, oh, okay. Well, apparently the 2 items were sent the day before they sent my box that has all my normal comics. However, it's still sitting at UPS FedEx, whereas my comics got there afterwards and got here and showed up Saturday. So go figure. But hopefully on Monday I'll see some movement on that. I'll say, why are you sitting on this box? I mean, it's happened more and more, I notice. Even on some of my eBay stuff, I'll mail it out and it's like, okay, they everything pretty much goes with a scan. It's like, okay, they got it, they scanned it, the initial scan, it's here, it's at the sorting station, and then it disappears. And then I get calls from people usually, and they're like, hey, how come my thing isn't shipped yet? I said, no, it's shipping. It's just, UPS or Postal Service, whatever. They're just sitting on it. I always tell them, I said, if you don't get it in 30 days, I'll just refund your money. And most of the time, the people who are impatient like that, they get their item. I've only ever had one person get it. I gave him a refund, and then about a month and a half later, I said, hey, I got my item. Can I pay? And I said, eBay doesn't work that way. It doesn't, plus they're usually cheap comics. I'm not going to worry about it. But I do appreciate honesty here and there.
We have our previews. We have our Marvel. I even have the DC thing. The DC.
What is it? What is the DC thing?
DC Connect.
Is that online or?
Yeah, that's the one.
Strike 1, 2, 3.
That's the one you download from all over the internet, but we get ours from dcbservice.com.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I got my previews from the woman at the source, first of all, I thanked her because I know a lot of times the source will pile up hundreds of previews for their passengers. I'm mixing my work and play now for their customers, and they hang on to them only for a couple weeks because then, of course, if you miss past the date, they're no good. For me, a difference between paying Discount Comic Service $1 and they were paying these guys $3.99 to get it. So you see, that's how much I appreciate you listeners. I am putting cash on the barrelhead to bring you this here show. But I made the comment I was looking inside and she goes, yeah, you got other things in there. You got the Marvel and they give me the previews order form, which I don't really use. I said, yeah, but nothing from DC, right? No, I said, they just don't want my money. And she just kind of sighed. Yeah, well, a lot of us are feeling that way. So yeah, DC. Well, whatever. We
will get to that.
No, we won't. But anyways, should we start at the top?
Yes, we always start at the top, and the number one publisher in the previews is Image.
Dun dun dun! I only have one. Again, an amazingly light previews considering how many pages are in it. On page 45, Pulp trade paperback by Ed Brubaker, artist Sean Phillips, and Jacob Phillips. And Sean, what a show off. He did the cover too. Basically, it's a Western. And Ed Brubaker.
Well, kind of.
Yeah. But Ed Brubaker, of course, comes up over and over because I know, Cory, you are definitely an aficionado of his comics. I pick and choose, and I picked this one not only because, like I said, sort of a Western, but let me just read you right along with the previews. Max Winters, a pulp writer in the 1930s New York, finds himself drawn into a story not unlike the tales he churns out at 5 cents a word. tales of a Wild West outlaw dispensing justice with a six-gun. But will Max be able to do the same when he's pursued by bank robbers, Nazi spies, and enemies from his past? One part thriller, one part mediation on life. This is supposed to be a celebration of Pulp Fiction. So you got me three things. First of all, Ed Brubaker always catches my attention. The cover, which is a Western, Nazi spies, and it's a trade paperback. So, and is it an original trade paperback, Corey? Is this
It's a reprint of the hardcover that came out a while back.
So now you can get it in a trade if you want for $12.99. And I will definitely be. I'm all over that.
They also are reprinting the Criminal in the deluxe edition hardcovers. So the series Criminal, it's been through. Let's see, it was at Marvel in their Icon line. Now it's over at Image because the Icon line it seems to be dead.
It's dead, Jim.
And everybody who was working on it has moved away to another publisher. But it is a part of Criminal in a way, in that it has the same themes. There are sequences that are in the West and sequences that are in the 30s and 40s. It is one of the better books I've read in the last year, and you're going to love it. I also highlighted the Criminal Deluxe editions, but really that's about it. The three new books from Image this month did not jump out at me. They had, was it 3 or 2? No, it was just 2, and neither one of them really excited me. So that was really it for Image, because the rest is just the stuff that they already put out. I will point out that if you're interested in Chew, which is a prequel sequel side by side with the series Chew, the first trade paperback of that is in this month's previews as well.
Onward to Dark Horse.
Yes.
I got a couple things on Dark Horse. One of them I'm just going to point out. If you are an Avatar fan, and I enjoyed the movie, but I'm not a fan, they are doing a miniseries, Avatar: The Next Shadow. And, of course, there'll be a trade coming of it as well. It's on sale January 6th, so too late for Christmas. But this just kind of follows an untold story set immediately after the events of Avatar. So I always like to point out those properties. I've only got one other thing. I'll talk about it in a bit. But, Corey, anything else you got, or anything you got?
I want to point out that the Mike Mignola stuff, they're still coming out with omnibuses. This is BRPD, which is the side series to Hellboy. These are the investigators that Hellboy works with. They've got an omnibus, and it's weird that this is the conclusion of the BRPD storyline, but it's the first of the BRPD omnibuses, so that's kind of a little weird. If you're like me and you hold off for trade paperbacks, the first trade paperback, actually it's a hardcover of Norse Mythology, which is by Neil Gaiman and P. Craig Russell, where P. Craig Russell is adapting the Norse Mythology novel by Neil Gaiman. It's P. Craig Russell. I'll buy anything P. Craig Russell does.
I'm on board with you on that one. I thought it's interesting because if you look over, they're only on issue 4, and the trade, or in this case, I should say it's a hardcover, will have 1 through 6 in it. So they're obviously advanced soliciting it to get it out as soon as it's ready, or it might be ready. I mean,
it's more that they have to. They print it overseas, and with the current political situation, it takes longer for things to be shipped over here and to be approved and to go through that process, because there's a political situation which may resolve itself next year.
Yeah. I want to point out kitty corner to that on page 69. Just something I thought was kind of interesting. First of all, you got almost the same situation. You've got Tales from the Umbrella Academy, You Look Like Death, number 5. And then, of course, the graphic novel itself. Underneath is a relisting of all the graphic novels. My family, not me, because I don't have the patience for them, but they're working on an Umbrella Academy 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And I had the opportunity to talk to my daughter, Holly, about that, because I said, well, did you read the graphic novel? Because I did, and I don't remember it. And she said, well, she did read the graphic novel. It didn't really grab her, but she did enjoy the series. So, again, this might be something where you could get these for Christmas if you have a kid or a family member who likes Umbrella Academy. Other than that, I have nothing else from Dark Horse.
I want to point out the Bill and Ted Are Doomed, which is, I read the first issue, and if you like the Bill and Ted comic from Marvel, this is the same thing. It's written by Evan Dorkin, drawn by Roger Landridge, and I would imagine Roger Landridge is throwing in some ideas there because he's one of the more interesting and fascinating creators. He worked on the Muppet series, and then also did a Thor series that lasted 8 issues a while back. He's somebody I really look for when it comes to comics. Next is IDW, and they've got another one of those things where if you really loved me, actually, it's dirt cheap. John Romita's The Amazing Spider-Man Artisan Edition, which is a trade paperback, little larger size, but not the size they normally do for where they show the original art, the original size. This is the original art, but it's an artisan edition, so it's not on the same paper, it's not the same size, but it does reproduce Johnny Romita's original Spider-Man art.
Yeah,
about
several issues.
152 pages worth.
Yeah, it says issues 68, 67, 69, 71, 75, and 84 in their entirety from the original Amazing Spider-Man run.
And it's from the original art. The reason they picked those is because those were the issues they were able to get all the pages of.
On page 113, this is on the I might buy it, but writer Roy Thomas and artist Esteban Marato. They're doing a Dracula, I can't even say it.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yep.
Does Joe know where was this originally printed?
Blah, blah. Originally published in the 90s. Nope.
Topps Comics.
Oh, wow. Oh, that all the way back.
Yes, because
that was one of those.
Remember, Topps had the license to the Dracula movie that was done by Francis Ford Coppola. This was Roy Thomas doing a tie-in to that.
Interesting. So that's on my maybe list, depending on how well we'll get to why.
It's beautifully done. It's just beautifully done.
And it's one of those that I remember I got issues 1, 2, and 4, and like I was missing an issue there, so I've never read it, even though I tried collecting it once upon a time. And it's just one of those comics you just never find. It's not collectible, so it's languishing in people's dollar bins. And good luck trying to find it.
And most people ignored Topps Comics when they were coming out, which is a shame because, boy, they had some really good stuff. It was edited by Jim Shalrup, who had just come from editing the Spider-Man stuff over at Marvel. And he was able to line up people like Don McGregor and Roy Thomas, and just Tony Isabella did some work for some really good stuff that Topps put out back in the day. On page 116, Star Trek The Next Generation Mirror Universe Collection. This reprints the mini-series that they have done for the Mirror Universe crossovers. They've done 3 of them. Mirror Broken, Through the Mirror, and Terra Incognito. Nice big collection of those 3 mini-series. And I wish they would do more of these rather than we're reprinting this 4-issue miniseries in a $20 book. Ugh. 112 pages for $20 to $25 is too much. Especially when you read it like, 2-3 hours. So, And then that was it for me from IDW.
On to Dynamite. I've got one on page 142. The Boys Dear Becky trade paperback. Because I have The Boys in my trade paperback collection. I might as well just finish this one out. 20 years after the events of The Boys, Hughie finds himself back home in Scotland, where he intends to finally marry Annie in the company of friends and family. But the sudden appearance of a peculiar document sends our heroes into a tailspin and threatens to bring the events of his nightmarish past crashing down on him in the worst possible way. It's one story about the boys that Huey never knew. Now, whether he likes it or not, he's going to. So, and if you're so inclined, across from it, Dynamite has some interesting collectibles. They're doing some collectible coins and a Homelander $2 bill. So I picked up a few of their coins here. I always point them out because I think those, of all the things, those are going to be the most unique collectibles. You'll find the coins pop up here and there on the eBays, but I haven't seen too many of the bills pop up. So,
Joe, did you ever buy the Marvel coins?
I did.
The ones back in the 70s?
Not the 70s. No, they had some in the when I had my comic shop, and they did a run of coins and they were like metallic trading cards and things like that. But no, I wasn't aware of the 70s Marvel coins.
Yeah, they had ads for them. This is the one everybody wants, and this is the only way to get it because you can't buy it in stores. Send for your official Marvel solid bronze Spider-Man medallion coins. They had a Spider-Man coin, a Conan coin, and a Hulk coin, and you would get they were $3.99 each, and you would get a $2 lucite hand holder free. And I remember seeing those ads over and over and over again. And every so often I look on eBay for them, and they're just either not available or stupid expensive. So
yeah, and they have somebody selling different like fine silver coins and things like that. But these are relatively new. They're not. Don't mistake them for the old one.
Alien coins.
Yep.
There you go. Let's see that. The one from 1973 is going for $310. A complete set is $1,100. So these actually were collectible.
Save them long enough.
Unlike those collectible plates your grandmother got that are worth about, I don't know, $1.50.
They make excellent shotgun targets.
Next up is Boom, because the alphabet means nothing to previews.
Nope.
Joe, anything that you're jumping on?
Nothing that I'm not already buying.
I am very excited about the Scene Rachel Carlson original graphic novel. Rachel Carlson was in the 50s and 60s. She wrote the book Silent Spring.
It's on page 164 for those of you playing along at home.
She pointed out how pollution was actually killing animals and was one of the first people to point that out. This is a graphic novel that tells the story of her life. And she's someone who, other than reading the book Silent Spring when I was a teenager, I know very little about her as a person. So I'm interested in picking this up to find out more about her. And Boom says this is the first of a series, a new nonfiction graphic novel series for fans of March. So looking forward to this, and looking forward to see who else they pick to do biographies of. And I'm pretty sure that's it for Boom for me. Any trade paperbacks here? Nope. I would also like to point out that they have this month in previews, they have what is known as a DIY, do-it-yourself, where they highlight a bunch of books on how to create comics. The problem is they don't have one of the best because it's long out of print, and that was Dave Sims' Guide to Self-Publishing. which he made before he kind of jumped off the deep end.
All right.
And now it's time for the biggest publisher in the world, especially if you look at the new the market share. They're inching up toward 50% market share now that DC's shooting themselves in the foot, and that is Marvel.
Marvelous. I have no comics new this month. Because
Really?
I'm sitting out the whole King Knight in Black thing because I'll wait for the inevitable graphic novel.
Which, my God, everything ties in with this.
Yeah, there was one book that I thought I might pick up. It's King in Black, Thunderbolts, because Mayor Fisk assembles a group of killers, mercenaries, cutthroats, buggers, muggers. I'm not going to go through the whole Young or Blazing Saddle things. But he puts together Taskmaster, Rhino, Star, Mr. Fear, and Batroc, the Leaper, to fight off whoever's attacking New York.
Sea Leaper.
Because
remember, they always gave him that horrible, horrible French accent in all the comics. Yeah. Batroc Sea Leaper.
Oh, by the way, if you happen to have a copy of that Service Guide to Self-Publishing, it's about $50.
Wow.
Yeah, it surprises me. I'm wondering if Dave, considering all the hubbub they did to do a reprinting and redoing of Spawn number 10, that maybe this might be the next thing that Sim might tackle.
Well,
or not.
You can always ask him.
Yeah.
And he'll ignore you.
Of course. But yeah, I have no comics, so I will sit back and listen to what you think will catch your attention.
Joe, do you remember last year around this time when they talked about Joe Kelly and Chris Bacalo doing nonstop Spider-Man, which was going to be this giant size all action issue?
Oh yeah,
it's coming out now.
Yeah. Well, and it's not in the previews technically. They do give you the code, because what was it, ordered back in April or something?
Oh geez, it was I think it was in last either January or February's.
Yeah.
Come out in April. Now it's going to be coming out in January of 2021.
Yeah, every so often I run across something like that. I go, oh, okay. And then you see on the bottom, order using this code, which means I probably already ordered it. I don't have to reorder it. So thanks for a cheaper month.
I will be picking this up as a trade, but Larry Hama has come back to Marvel and is doing an Iron Fist story. So Larry Hama, who drew some early Iron Fist. Joe, what do most people know Larry Hama for other than his editing tenure at Marvel and his acting career, where he showed up on MASH and a few other TV shows?
Book of Joes. Nation of Joe. Something Joe. I forget what it was.
G.I. Schmo.
Oh, the Schmo. G.I. Schmo. Yeah, the El Cap series. Yep.
Also, the Peter David Maestro series must have done well because they're doing another one.
Yeah, it reads pretty good. I think it'd be more fun as a trade, but I'm actually going on board buying them as they come.
And then for new series, X of Swords is over, so all of the X-Men books will be showing the aftermath of that. And I think, is there anything else that is changed here? Oh, there's a new Marvel Snapshots, which are these one-shots by classic creators. This one is Mark Waid is writing a Captain Marvel story. Featuring Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and a few surprises. And I think that is it for the... I think that's it for the comics. Yep, yeah. That's it for the comics. The big Spider-Man story has ended by the time previews is out, so they can't really tell us anything. Also, last month we missed that they did a new X-Men book, another one of those where it's a secret. We can't tell you what it is. And I jumped over it because, well, it's a secret. We can't tell you what it is.
We don't play
and
with
I don't order those.
Nope.
And now back to where all our money's going to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Marvel, you're killing me. We might as well just go page by page because, I mean, seriously. First off, on page 77, this is on my questionable list. Empire Omnibus hardcover. Mainly because I was underwhelmed by the actual main series, and I don't know if if I follow along with all the other series, if it'll make any difference. But this one to me has collector's item written all over it. Because if you don't order it now, I don't see Marvel ever reprinting this thing because it occurred during the pandemic. Half the stuff that you're going to get in here probably has never been in print.
Nope,
So
they're not printing any of the stuff that didn't come out, which I would have bought it if it was, and here's all the stuff that we canceled, like the Spider-Man tie-in and this tie-in and that tie-in. But because it's just the stuff that's in the story, I'm actually passing on this one because Empire was okay, not great. If I want to reread it, I can reread it on Marvel Universe.
Yeah, it's
on
not
Marvel Unlimited.
It's not. Yeah, that's why this one is on a question mark. Flip the page, which would be page 78. Here's another one that's on the questionable mark. Kazar the Savage Omnibus. And this reprints the Kazar the Savage 1 through 34. When it came out at the time, it was a big deal because it was one of the few times Marvel published a book that would only go to the direct market and not go to newsstands.
It switched to that. Because remember, there were 3 books that switched.
Oh, Dazzler was the first one. They just published
Dazzler
the first
came
issue.
out. First issue was only in direct market. But when Micronauts went direct market only, they also took Kazar and
that's what it is.
And made them direct market.
That was around, it was somewhere in the middle. Now, the only reason
it was around issue 12, I believe.
I pause on this one is because it was a good story. It was a good run. It's one I fondly remember. There are certain runs of it, like when Kazar, or not Kazar, who's the guy always hunting Craven the Hunter. He's in there. There was a pretty good crossover and fight between them. It was a good storyline dealing with, why can't I think of her name? I'm looking right at her. Shanna
the She-Devil.
Shanna the She-Devil. And I enjoyed this one. But I also know it's probably all on Marvel Unlimited. And while $125, probably half of that because we're ordering through online discount comic book service, I don't know if this warrants me buying it as an omnibus. And again, all the omnibuses we're going to be talking about, I am real tempted to buy. So again, there's like, oh Lord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 omnibuses I'm looking at from Marvel. I can't afford to drop that type of ching on them all. Marvel, are you kind of oversaturating your omnibus runs here?
Well,
and the other question
after this, we'll get to the next page, and I can tell you a little about what their plan is.
And the other problem I have is I've got so many damn omnibuses ordered now. I got a lot of cash hung up both on Marvel and DC, and I haven't gotten butt kiss from nobody. So it's
remember, you're ordering
I've got about $1,000 worth of cash sitting there on omnibuses that have yet to ship.
You're
ordering these what I've ordered.
You're ordering these 6 months in advance.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And the other thing too, when they first show up, you will find people blowing them out on the eBays almost at half price, maybe a little bit more plus shipping. I just gotta play it by ear and hope to get it. But anyways, on to the next one.
This one I'm really excited about. Cull the Savage, the original Marvel years. What it is, Cull, when Marvel got Conan, they got all of the Conan-related Robert E. Howard stuff. That's why in the 70s, they did adaptations of Robert E. Howard short stories in a lot of their horror mags. But they got Cull the King, who was, like 1,000 years, he was the Emperor of Atlantis. So it's long before Conan. These are all of the cull stories from Savage Sword of Conan. And they even tried a Cull Black and White magazine. That's going to be in there too. So this is going to be all those black and white stories. Most of the good ones are by Roy Thomas, but there's stories by Chuck Dixon, Doug Mensch, and then John Arcudi with Gary Conway and Steve Englehart. The Roy Thomas ones are the best because they're direct adaptations and stories between the Robert E. Howard stories. But the art, man, you got Val Zemeckis, John Bolton, Marie Severin, Jeff Isherwood, Sal Buscema, Mike Plug, Howard Chaykin, Sonny Trinidad. That's my favorite name of any comic creator, by the way, because it's I always see it as "Come to Sonny Trinidad."
Yes. I have never
love
read
books.
any of these. This is the one, if I can swing it financially, I would pick up just because it's all brand new material and it's so cool to have it all in one spot. Although do they put in the crossover between the two, Conan
Yes.
and okay, that's good enough.
But not the Conan stuff, but they do have the Red Sonja and Solomon Kane stuff that crossed over.
Okay, I just remember through that Cull and maybe it was King Kong. There was a crossover somewhere in my fuzzy memory.
That's in the Conan store. That's in the Conan books.
Okay, and if it's reprinted here, I'd be happy. But I don't even care because it's just brand to me, totally new. Never read it. I'd be excited to get it.
The next 3 omnibuses are reprints, and what it is, Marvel is actually going through in the reprints that are, the omnibuses that are in demand. They're asking retailers, what should we reprint? And these are 3 that the retailer said we still have demand for, and that's the Venomous, which is, the first Venom stories, which we'll get to a little later on. The Annihilation Conquest Omnibus, and the Untold Tales of Spider-Man.
And that's another one that I would like it just for the Kurt Busiek stories. The other ones I'm not. Well, and Fred Hembeck's in there too. You gotta love Fred. But again, these are ones. If I've never read them, I probably don't remember them, and it's been on my list for a long time to try to pick up another run of the Untold Tales of Spider-Man.
This was that dollar book when Marvel tried dollar books.
Yeah.
That stories that kind of went in between early issues of Spider-Man. And one of the things, the reason they did this, first, Kurt Busiek was hot coming out of Marvel's. And second, you had all the fans who were like, comic books are too expensive at $1.99. If they were $1, we'd buy them. So they put out 2 or 3 different books at $1. Nobody bought them.
Yeah, most of them weren't that great, but the Untold Tales of Spider-Man were actually good just because of Kurt. That man can write. I think I'll have to put him in that.
Art was really good too.
Oh yeah, I'll have to put him in that category. Kurt, you write a phone book, I'll buy it. And for those of you out there, you kiddies who don't know what a phone book is, that's why God gave you Google.
Oh, don't worry, they still drop them. I still get a phone book dropped off at my house every 6-7 months, and I go, who the hell would want this?
Yeah.
More omnibuses, and by the way, if you ever look at the sales chart to see why Marvel's putting out more omnibuses, because they make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and they're almost guaranteed to sell out. Now that Marvel has not, I think Marvel's not stockpiling these, hence the crazy blowouts that we've seen over the last couple of years. This next one on page 82, I am buying because again, I want to get my Peter David run. We figured what, a 4-issue omnibus set?
I think this is the 3rd one. This is the last because it's goes up to Hulk 435. Isn't that when he left the series?
I will fire up the Kraytron 4000 and look that up. But this is one that I definitely am going to buy.
This is one where you had Gary Frank, Paul Pelletier, Derek Robertson, Liam Sharp. I believe this is the end of the Peter David run on Incredible Hulk. He was on that book for a decade.
Oh,
and when he took it over, no one said this at the time, but he has said it since. Hulk was on the verge of being canceled. Sales were so poor. Even when John Byrne came on the book, it didn't help the sales.
Although when that hot artist Todd McFarlane started it, that jump started it.
Well, it took a while though, because at the time Todd McFarlane was not hot. Hulk was the book that made him hot. Because I remember at the time I'd read Todd McFarlane on Infinity Incorporated over at DC, and each page was designed, and I absolutely loved that. But his art was inked by Tony DeZungia, and DeZungia's art inking works well on some people, did not work well on Todd McFarlane. When he came over to Marvel, they gave him a light inker, Bob Wysick, who, rather than using brushes and kind of heavy inks, very light inks, almost a feather line, which showed off much better Todd McFarlane's art. I also think his art got better by leaps and bounds when he worked over at Marvel, because the editors were very hands-on with the new people. John Romita was, he was the art director, so he would say, do more of this, less of this, more action shots, more things. And Todd McFarlane and other artists really took that to heart. Rob Liefeld didn't. Took it to heart, and it really made their art grow from like 85 to 90. I think everybody who was new in comics, who was around New York and could work with Romita, their art got much better as they went on.
Let's see. Oh, okay. First of all, no, there will be a fourth, because Peter David finishes his run in issue 467.
Oh, wow.
So there will be a fourth.
Okay.
Now, before we get any farther,
4 omnibuses to collect Peter David's run on Hulk.
Before we go any farther, let's take a step back. Cory, if you buy the Kazar omnibus, which cover would you go for?
I'm somebody who always goes for the one that's based on the original art.
Yeah, I think
both of them have art from the original series, but I would probably go with the what they call the regular cover.
Yeah,
because it's the first issue cover.
On would you have the Untold Tales omnibus?
I do not. I have it as trades. I don't like it enough to get an omnibus.
Yeah, I don't know which one of that I'd buy. On the Hulk one, I'm torn. I like the I can't tell who did the cover on that one. The Gary Frank cover?
Frank did both covers.
Okay, because there's one where he's fighting, and there's one where he's just coming at you.
Yeah, they're both covers from the series.
Yeah, I don't know which one. But on page 83...
This is one that I'm having so much trouble deciding which cover. This is the complete Kirby War and Romance. These are the Kirby War stories and the Kirby Romance stories, kind of finishing up Kirby stuff that hasn't been printed in omnibuses. It's a little pricey. It's only 592 pages for $125, but I imagine this is going to be the worst selling of the Kirby omnibuses. Both covers are fantastic, but I know the romance one is going to be the one that's going to be worth more.
And that's the one I'm going for. I'm a sucker for romance.
Kirby did do a lot of romance comics at Marvel, which is weird because he created the genre. But I guess they wanted him on more action series. This reprints all the Sergeant Fury stuff he did, as well as some war short stories. And then if you look at the romance books, he only did a handful, like maybe 20, and those are probably short stories. I doubt he did the entire book. This is a very niche product. I'm excited about it. I would be amazed if this thing sells more than like 500-600 copies.
And I'm not big on these, but I'm very curious to see how Kirby did this. And like I said, I will probably go with the romance cover.
Now on the next page is the most exciting, the most needed, the most demanded Marvel masterwork of all time.
And this is one I may have to go for.
Brother Voodoo gets himself an masterwork.
Yep.
Which has a Fred Hembeck story in it. And when I announced it, I made a comment about this is the one that Fred Hembeck will be, buying day one. And I posted everybody in it, and he's like, wait, I'm in that? Maybe they're reprinting all the Marvel Age stuff I did. Nope, that's not what they're reprinting. And he went, oh, the one serious story I did. This has a serious Fred Hembeck story in it, kids. I'm not getting this.
I may.
Mostly because it's all in the Marvel Horror Omnibus.
Okay, hang on a second. I got to look at something. So I'm just going to my other side here.
By the way, Brother Voodoo, one of the reasons we joke so much about it is because it was brought out with huge fanfare.
What I do is see if they have printed any of this in the horror essentials that I have, Marvel Horror.
Oh, they did 2 Marvel Horror Essentials too, but those are I think the first one is mostly Son of Satan, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't get to them. I have things propped. I have a bookcase with all my essentials in it, and I've got things propped up in front of it.
Okay.
So, again, this one's on the maybe list because I do. Again, it's a character. I probably have read most of his stuff, especially when you start getting into the 2-in-1 and the Doctor Strange. It'd be kind of fun just to have it all in one. I don't normally collect masterworks anyways, but I'll make exceptions for some fun stuff. Although if they came out in this in like the complete collection, maybe I'll hang on and do that. They're bound to do that. Hear that, Marvel? I'm giving you another $1 million idea. Okay, maybe $1,000 idea, but whatever.
On page 87, a hardcover collecting all the Marvel's snapshot stories.
Oh, by this point, Corey, I've checked out. I don't even know. I mean, there's stuff in here I would buy, but
the budget won't allow.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me, Marvel. You're killing me.
The Marvel snapshots are those one-shots that they've been doing with classic creators, Kurt Busiek, Alan Brenneret, Evan Dorkin, Mark Russell, Barbara Kessel, Howard Chaykin, Saladin Ahmed, and Mark Waid. Art by Jerry Ordway, Tom Riley, Staz Johnson, Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin did a Spider-Man story.
I think I have it. It was in my box today. I got my invoice here. Let's see. You go ahead, Corey. I'm just going to look and see if
the first Maestro series is coming out as a trade paperback already. The Dawn of X, those trade paperbacks that are reprinting all of the X-Men stories. They have 3 more, and they reprint everything that leads up to X of Swords. So I'm hoping that they continue this. I'm loving this idea, by the way. If Marvel did this for their other series, hey, all of these tie in, so here's trade paperbacks reprinting them. It is nice to have them on that shelf, too. A lot of reprints of trade paperbacks that have gone out of print, which is nice. But I want to point out some of the Epic collections. They are reprinting the Black Panther Epic collection, the second one, which reprints the Kirby series. X Factor, they're reprinting the first Epic collection. One of the things that Marvel has said is that the Epic collections will stay in print. So don't ever get tricked into paying high dollars for one. I think the first volume of the Spider-Man one, I was just curious a few months ago, and I looked at on eBay and Amazon. People were selling it for $75 and $100, and Marvel reprinted it a few months later. But the Epic collections for this month are Luke Cage. So the first, 23 issues of Luke Cage, when it was Luke Cage Hero for Hire, and then Power Man. And then they're doing a Morbius Epic collection, probably because the movie is coming out and the Omnibus came out when they thought the movie would be coming out. I would not think that Morbius would be popular enough for an Epic collection, but there it is, reprinting the all of his scattered appearances and the stuff from the black and white magazines. It does not it does reprint his run from Fear, so it's all of the early Morbius stuff. There'll probably be a second one that reprints all the stuff from the Bronze Age. And then for Doctor Strange, they are Alone Against Eternity, which is the end of the Steve Englehart run, and also the Jim Starlin run. This also has the story where Clea cheats on Doctor Strange with Benjamin Franklin.
But if you know anything about Ben Franklin, that's an honor.
Yeah, he pretty much slept with everybody.
Yeah, he was just that type of guy.
Steve Englehart did that story, and then they had to hand wave it away a few issues later because they're like, oh, shit, Steve was on too many drugs.
Coward. It happened in the past. The past is the past. It doesn't matter anymore. Jeez, you guys got to learn this stuff from the Lion King movie. Come on, get moving.
There's also a trade paperback reprinting all the Conan the Barbarian one-shots they've done since Marvel got it. And if you go to pages, let's see here, 108 and 109, these are the smaller trade paperbacks that are focused on the young adult market. So it's got a Disney one, and then Unstoppable Wasp, which was fantastic, and you should have read it. And the Ms. Marvel stuff is being reprinted in that format. No.
Are these considered, I mean, obviously not
No True Believers.
The Disney, but are these two graphic novels considered continuity, or are they just out there?
Yeah, basically they're reprinting these stories that they aimed at the young adult audience in the format of young adult books so that they fit in the racks.
DC, this is how you do it.
DC is doing that.
Just a hint.
DC is doing that.
But they don't have to
young adult books.
Everything
they're all
to
new.
do it. You know, as long as we're bad mouthing DC, are you done with Marvel?
Yeah.
Folks, I want you to realize we don't get a dime from Marvel to pitch their stuff the way we do. We just like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, on to DC. Okay,
DC
next up, boom.
Well, I want to explain this future state.
Yeah, and this is something too. First of all, from my standpoint, not an effing clue what this was. You know, and again, I'm on the interwebs. I read house ads. I get some DC comics, but I was going through just online what this stuff was. And usually when you start doing stuff like Marvel snapshots or whatever, I'm kind of like, you know what, whatever, I'll pick it up and trade. I had no clue what the hell was going on. I thought I was going to have a shutout with DC Comics this month. And if it wasn't for the other history of DC Universe #2, I don't have nothing on my list from DC. Not even a graphic novel. DC is doing their damnedest to keep me, a longtime reader from 1978, to not buy or care about anything DC is doing. Because I had no idea what this was.
Well, it's spinning out of the death metal.
Strike 75. Go on.
But I'll tell you what it is. Remember when we heard all those rumors about 5G, the 5th generation is coming, and
which
last
we were
month,
kind of call not super hyper enthused, but we're like, okay, this could be interesting.
Well, people at DC were not super hyper enthused either. And then Dan DiDio got let go. Well, last month they had Generations, and what it was supposed to be, they were supposed to have for Free Comic Book Day the first part, Generation 1, and then there would be Generation 2. Generation 1 were the heroes from World War II. Generation 2 were the heroes pre-crisis. Generation 3 was post-crisis. Generation 4 was post-Flashpoint. This is going to be Generation 5. However, Dan DiDio got let go, mostly because of this, but there were other reasons. Now, they had been working on this for a while. So they've got at least 2 to 4 months worth of comics done when DiDio got let go and they were told, we're not doing this. So they've got all these comics they created that are sitting in a drawer for a new line of books that's not coming out. So what they did, they switched up the ending of Death Metal so that the multiverse is back. It's not 52 worlds, it's the entire multiverse. And this story is going to be the future. It's going to be one of those multiverse worlds set in DC's possible future. And they're going to do 2 months to just burn these books off. And for me and for you, and I imagine for a lot of people, this is going to be 2 months where you don't have to bother with DC. It's a lot like when they did that, what was
Convergence.
that? Convergence. Except Convergence, they actually brought in older creators and said, hey, Marv Wolfman, do a Teen Titans story. Hey, Cary Bates, do a Superman story, and on and on and on. For this, these were the books that were going to be the new version of DC. And they're just going to burn them off. If you ignore it for 2 months, it'll go away, unless one of them is a huge hit, and then they'll figure out something. But I would imagine that this is just, you know, hey, burn them off. We paid everybody for them. We've got all this stuff. Make an event. Give it 2 months. Then the third month, they're kind of doing a reshuffle. Kind of like after 52 when they did a 1 year later. It's going to be yet another soft reboot. Like when they did 1 year later, or when they did Rebirth. And that will be the new editor-in-chief. Marie Javins is in charge. Here's one of the big problems, and we'll probably get into this when we know more at a future date. Time Warner had another round of layoffs, 1,500 people across Time Warner. Wow, did they lose a lot of money on HBO Go, or HBO Now, or HBO streaming that can't get onto Roku because we're pissy about sharing the revenue with Roku. And so they're cutting costs across the board. It also does not help that there is no theatrical revenue for anybody anywhere. Disney laid off a bunch of people too, because it's been almost a year since there's been theatrical revenue. DC decimated their direct sales department. And they got rid of a bunch of the more senior editors. So who knows what's going to happen? Of course, there are the assholes who are like, this means DC's not publishing anything anymore. No, they've already announced stuff that they're doing all the way into 2023 with the book trade. And one worrying thing is that the person who is in charge of their push into the young adult market was let go. But I'm wondering if they're just going to fold that in under Marie Javins. But when it comes to what DC is putting out, the Batman Catwoman #2 is continuing. The non-DC Universe stuff is continuing. And new issue of Mad.
So, bottom line, I guess I will get more Marvel omnibuses this month.
Yeah.
Hot snot. You see how that works, DC? Oh, man, they are doing their damnedest to lose me, I'm telling you. And like comments I made earlier, it doesn't sound like the comic shops are necessarily too happy.
No.
Knowing what you just told me, Corey, there is no effing way I would order a lot of any of this.
No.
And knowing my customers, the way they were, the way they are, they're probably less likely. How would you market something like this without any type of flyer to give to somebody? okay, if you order Batman, I will pull you your future Batman. No, it's not going to work because you can end up with a lot of them.
And the future Batman isn't Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, this is just, if anything, they should, you did a flyer. I've got a couple floating around where it was like, here are all the comics coming out for the month. And it had a nice Joker poster on it. And didn't give you any descriptions, but, whatever. There should have been something like that in the previews or in the shops, since they dissociate themselves the most part with previews, to give to past customers and allow them to, like me, to go, hey, this is cool, this is not, but I'm checking out. And again, I'm going to post this on a couple of the Facebook groups and just say, hey, is anybody buying? I don't even know what the hell is it called. Future what?
Future State.
Future State?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to put it out there. And just, is anybody buying any of this stuff? Because I know when I talked to you about it, I think we sent a couple texts back and forth, and you were like, yeah, I'm just getting a trade. If they ever get to a trade portion. They probably will.
If they put it out as an omnibus, cool. I'll pick that up because it would be a fun read, and it would be cheaper than buying all of the comics, because some of them are like, oh, it's double size with a cardboard cover for $8.99. You can't. Can you hear my eyes rolling? Because my eyes are rolling so hard, I think it makes sounds. Man, their trade paperback section, their collected edition section, the section of the direct toys is larger than their collected edition section. Oof. So for collected editions, I am getting Amethyst by Amy Reeder, even though I know it's going to be delayed because they've delayed the last issue of that miniseries by 3 months. Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, The Hunt for Harley. It's the Amanda Conner, Jimmy Palmiotti Black Label book. That'll be picking up because, come on, it's Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti. They're great. Ex Machina Compendium 2, I picked up 1, so of course I'm going to pick up 2. Ex Machina was a Vertigo series by Brian K. Vaughan, where there's one person who has superpowers. He has the ability to talk to machines, and he becomes the mayor of New York. And it was fantastic run. Great book. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait to pick it up. Green Arrow, 80 Years of the Emerald Archer Deluxe Edition. I am tempted to get. They do list the books that are in there, so I'm kind of tempted to get it. This is one that I won't decide till the last minute. Let's see. Swamp Thing, the New 52 Omnibus. One of the things they're doing lately is, the series that did get canceled, we'll put them out as an omnibus. So all of the Swamp Thing stuff from the New 52. Again, I'm tempted because it's Scott Snyder and Jeff Lemire and Charles Soule, all fantastic creators. I remember I read the first issue and liked it, but I checked out on the New 52 fairly early. Tales from the Dark Multiverse is the collection of those what-ifs where everything goes wrong. And I think that was it. And like I said, they have more toys than collected editions. Not a good sign. They have more statues than collected editions. Boy, I hope they pull in the money because, yeah. And now, the rest of the story. Page 1.
Boom! I got nothing new from Boom, other than things I'm already collecting.
We already did Boom.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, that's the Rachel Carson book that I...
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm still looking through Boom, trying to see if there's something else. Okay. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Page 2, we'll do round robin, and we'll bounce back and forth. So let's see. My first one is page 188. I buy these as trades, but I want to point it out. if you're a fan of the Terry Moreverse, can we call it that? The Moreverse?
Sure.
As all his books get tied together. Serial number 1. Zoe has been 10 years old for 50 years. Most of her life has been spent on the run, fighting the demon that lived within her, keeping her young, yet it turned her into a serial killer. She's now free of the demon, and she is discovering her childhood friend is the latest victim in a string of murders. Determined to put an end to this reign of terror, Zoe, using her own deadly skills to stalk the predator and avenge her fallen friend. I said that I read that in the wrong tone. Okay, she starts. Anyways, this is a new Terry Moore series. Zoe was in Rachel Rising in 5 years. So this is her solo series. So yeah, I guess we will call it the Moreverse. And I do like it, but I buy all of his stuff as trades. So, but if you're prone to it, definitely go ahead, jump on board.
On page 202, we get another of the Wrong Earth, another miniseries set on the Wrong Earth. This is that series by Tom Peyer where there is a light version of a hero and a dark version of a hero, and they switch Earths. Kind of like what if the Adam West Batman ended up on the grittiest of the 90s Batman and vice versa. Really fun series, really well done. I buy it as trades, but it's Ahoy. I love Ahoy. I have yet to read a book by Ahoy I haven't loved.
All right, page 199. Join the future trade paper. The future. Ultra-modern megacities reward millions of their citizens with a completely funded life. Every need met, whether it's food, to housing, to healthcare. It allows them to compete in an economic power struggle where population is the key. Few rural residents, however, still cling to their independence, and what last American small towns are left. When a nearby megacity pressures the people of a small town to join up or else, a young teenager named Clem will learn how far she'll go to defend her principles. This volume contains the entire series of the same name from Zach Kaplan and Pure Kowalski. And this is one of those I don't recall if I talked about, but this looks interesting enough that it's on my recommend list.
Joe, you know how Avatar has been saying for like a year and a half that we're coming out with new books soon.
Yes.
They have a new book.
What? Okay, I owe you a Coke.
Warrior Nun Dora. I like how it says Volume 1 Collection. It's a 64-page comic that reprints the 2 issues that they did previously for $10. And then also, if you missed any issue of God is Dead and want to buy the special covers, they are still emptying out their warehouse. Avatar Press, they're not answering emails. Because I've emailed and said, hey, we've talked about your warehouse sales and stuff, and et cetera, et cetera. Are you guys still a going concern, or are you just emptying the warehouse? And they don't get back to me. Yeah. Same for Boundless. They don't get back to me either because they're the same company with different names and different copyrights.
All right, page 224, AWA Upshot, The Resistant Reborns, the book by J. Michael Straczynski, and illustrated by C.P. Smith. So I guess this is round 2. Can't tell if this is a number 1 or a one-shot. But, I'll jump on it. And, of course, there's 2. You can get the regular cover by Snakebite Cortez or the Mike Deodato Jr. cover.
If you go to page 248, a book decades in the making. Says
Monsters.
35 years in the making.
I don't even have
Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters.
Yeah, I got that on my list too. I didn't even have to. When you said 35 years in the making, I know exactly what you were talking about.
Barry Windsor Smith has not put out a comic in a long time, not since the Barry Windsor Smith storyteller stuff back in the 90s. So this is what he's been working on ever since. 380 pages for $40 of all new Barry Windsor Smith. So that's, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about it, although it's kind of odd that it's coming out from Fantagraphics because they don't really do a lot of publicity, but they do have inroads into bookstores. So looking forward to this one. They're doing another reprint of the EC stuff, as you'll see, Slight Case of Murder and Other Stories. These are the George Evans crime stories. And I like these books because they pick an artist and reprint a bunch of their stories rather than reprinting, oh, here's Tales from the Crypt 21 through 26. It's, okay, here are the George Evans stories, here are the Wally Wood stories, here are the Joe Orlando stories, things like that.
Not that we want you to, risk paper cut and jump back and forth in your previews, but I will point out on page 312, comic book creator number 25 has a in-depth discussion issue with Barry Windsor Smith as well. He's talking about the Monsters graphic novel, plus going back into the Epic's origin, which apparently Genesis is an incredible Hulk one-shot way back in the mid-'80s. So not only can you get Monsters, but you can get a kind of a companion piece with it in Comic Book Creators number 25. So I just wanted to kind of point that as a tie-in. For me, the other
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I had something else for Fangraphics, but it's just more on Monsters. But yeah, I was really excited to see this. So I double the recommendation for that.
There was a comic series that came out aimed at kids a while ago called Goldie Vance, which actually got picked up it was through Boom, but it has since been picked up by Little Brown and Company, which is one of the major book publishers. There is a new Goldie Vance book coming out. It's on page 266. These are fun young adult books. The miniseries from Boom was a lot of fun, and I have picked up the original graphic novels. They're aimed at kids, but they're good enough for grown-ups too.
Cory, I got a quick feedback from my post online.
Yes.
About DC Future State. One person says, I'll tell you what I've told others, Future State will be DC Comics' biggest flop in company history. And I just said, really? Even worse than Convergence?
Nothing flop hard.
So that's two number ones. Even worse than Deathmate? No, that doesn't count. That wasn't them. All right, folks, I will direct your...
you said Deathmate without puking.
I'm planning to puke later.
Oh.
Because I want everybody to go to page 231. And I'm going to just say one word. Loud. There's a trade paperback on the top. The Loud Nightclub. I mean, and listen to this. A late-comer stripper. A pissed waitress. A hitman couple. A suspension bondage performer. A pregnant teenager. A clan of vampires. A pedophile. A lesbian junkie. A divorced middle-aged woman. A sadistic dominatrix, 2 podcasters, wait, what? And many other souls in search of love, drugs, and blood converge in the hottest club in town on a night that none will ever forget, if they survive. That alone is worth buying a copy. So I recommend checking this one out. I'll be talking about that in a future review.
I am all the way on page 312 because the new issue of the Kirby Collector is out, and much like a couple of the others they've done, this one got so big it became a book. Old Gods and New. This is a special about the New Gods, as well as his work on Thor and other affiliated series such as The Eternals and Captain Victory. Much like the Stuff Said and the Kirby 50th anniversary, I wouldn't mind if they just turned Kirby Collector into a series of books like this, and they come out, once or twice a year. Kirby Collector is supposed to be quarterly. It has not hit any of those deadlines lately, but this is going to go into detail. It's also going to have long interviews with Mike Royer, who inked most of the New God stories, and Mark Evanier, who was Kirby's assistant during that time. A must-have for Kirby fans. You already pointed out that Comic Book Creator is going to have a long interview with Barry Windsor Smith. I want to point out that the Sal Buscema book is being resolicited. On page 313, Sal Buscema has not done a lot of interviews. And I think that's a shame, because there's a guy who worked in comics from the 60s until the 90s at Marvel. There are very few people who worked at Marvel as long as he did, and very few people who drew as many books as he did, and drew as many great books as he did. Sal Buscema is a very underrated creator. He's one of my favorites. And the older I get, the more I really appreciate his stuff. I remember when I first started reading comics, Sal Buscema was kind of the guy who, oh, it's a Sal Buscema book. Sal just, you took him for granted. And now that I'm older, I look back and go, he was a guy who, no matter what they threw at him, he made it a good book. No matter who he worked with, no matter what story it was, he always found a way to make it exciting, to make it fun. He could handle the talking head scenes just as well as the action scenes. And boy, a Sal Buscema fight scene, you go back, Sal was so good. I think Sal Buscema was better at fight scenes than his brother John. So, go ahead, pick up that Sal Buscema book, because Sal's still with us, and we're very lucky that we had him as long as we did. Joe?
All right, I'm going to trudge you all the way back to page 233. A couple things to point out. From Brilliance Audio, the Sandman Book 1 audiobook. I am real intrigued. I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, but I'd be real curious to see how this one works. I haven't looked to see what the discounted price is, but it's kind of interesting. Kitty Corner to it is another one of those maybe books. The Great Gatsby, a graphic novel adaptation. I would have liked to have seen some previews of the artwork before I drop in either $14.99 for the softcover or pop $10 more for the hardcover. I've enjoyed reading the book, a little story from the past. Hey, that could be a new segment, because this has nothing to do with comic books. As you know, my long-suffering wife, we both went to the same high school, and her sister was in my grade. Chris was 2 grades behind us. So we always had a class with, I don't know if you ever had a teacher, Cory, where you don't mess with this person, be it a he or she. Ours was a nun named Sister Jaren. Her reputation preceded her. I got along with her fabulous. Could be because I did some musical things that, like when she was a director of the church musicals, or I should say music in church. I volunteered because I could play the key of C in my guitar, and she liked doing that. Plus, I also know she absolutely loved being a teacher. If you did anything to mess with that, that's how you got on her bad side, AKA screwing around in class, not doing your homework, being disruptive. I was none of those. Anyways, one of the books she would have everybody read in her class was The Great Gatsby. And I always remember this, and I think a lot of people do, because there was a scene in the book where the guy walks into, I believe it was Gatsby's library. And it's a huge library, and there's somebody in there going, oh my gosh, look at this. He's got this huge library with real books. And the question is, and let's ask Cory if he knows, does the Strode know? And I don't have a shiny dime, but I do have an unopened box of Junior Mints. Why was that such a significant thing?
Because back then books were expensive.
Yep.
And many people would have bookcases, but they would have fake books. They would actually just paint book covers onto wood that would be in those bookcases because the books were just there for looks, which is there's actually a service on the internet now which will send you books for looks. You can say, oh, I want books that look like this, or books that look like this, or books with this cover. And I was just blown away by the fact that, wow, people still do that? Huh.
Yeah, that's always stuck with me. And believe me, when I run through and I look at my omnibuses all lined up, and then I used to have all the masterpieces, all the DC archives, and I have the essentials. When you line them all up together, they look impressive.
Impressive.
And I've
Most
always wanted
impressive.
to have that, have a library with real books. Anyways, so when Chris went and had this class, so I graduated and she was in this class, and I said, when Sister Jaren asks what's the significance of this, here's the answer. Pretty much what Cory and I have said. And so Chris, of course, raised her hand and said, well, back then, the Sister Jaren stopped, looked at her, goes, huh, your sister must have told you that. And of course, it was me. So, anyways, that's just a little blast from my personal past. We'll figure a name for that. What else you got, Mr. Strode?
I think for me, I do want to point out on page 329, because they've got all the DIY books in the back.
Which would make a wonderful, if a shop is so prone to buy these books, to make a display of them. I actually, when I had my comic store, I did a lot of these DIY. I would have an actual section with art books and how-to books and things like that, and they sold really well.
They do have the 5 Brune Hogarth dynamic anatomy, dynamic figures, drawing the human head, drawing dynamic hands, dynamic wrinkles and drapery. Those are books actually taken from Brune Hogarth's classes he used to run for artists. Just think, you can get the textbooks without putting up with his abusive teaching. And then they have the Scott McCloud, Understanding Comics, Making Comics and Reinventing Comics. If you want to really know the nuts and bolts of comics, these 3 Scott McCloud books are fantastic. The only one that I would say you could pass on is Reinventing Comics, because he had a vision for what comics on the internet would be, and let's just say that he missed the mark.
So you're 2 for 3, Scott. You need to write another book, like how to understand comic podcasts, and we can help you with that one.
Actually,
just giving away these ideas.
He wouldn't do podcasts because he's a visual guy.
No, I mean just talking about podcasts.
That's what we do.
We're worthy of a book from Scott McCloud. That's all I'm saying. Even though
we need to be worthy of a Wikipedia page.
We still don't have a Wikipedia page. We're not bitter, folks. Festivus is coming
out
up.
There,
you better.
To do. We're going to be locked down again.
We're going to have a lot of things to whatever. I've got a lot more.
It. There was nothing.
No, I got a lot more to cover. So in a rare thing, I may not talk DC, but I've got a couple other. I got a lot of stuff I want to point out because, when DC decided they didn't want my money, I kind of am going nuts this month. I'm not saying I'm buying it all. Some of the things I want to point out, like page 262, Ignited in Volume 2, Fight the Power. I picked up these comics, but however, the Ignited series was unignited. So if you want to finish it, this graphic novel reprints the never printed issues of 9 and 10, which is kind of things that Cory and I have talked about that we figured would happen. Back on page 258, it's not Rat Bastards. No, that's what you got Cory and me for. This is Space Bastards from Humanoids. Poor David S. Proton. He's a meek, unemployed accountant, desperate for money, So he joins the Intergalactic Postal Service, paired with Manny Corns, a.k.a. the Manicorn, who's a sardonic brute who thrives on the competition provided by IPS. But the delivery is life or death for these intergalactic dispatchers. Payment goes solely to whoever fulfills the delivery, making every run a comically violent free-for-all. This is almost Lobo-like, and they actually invoke Lobo in the description. But they did something which I absolutely love. You gave me what caught my attention. I kind of went past it, and then I read the 3-issue preview they give me, and I was laughing. And then I read the description, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get what's going on. So I'm definitely picking that one up. Let's see. Let's jump to page 293. 293. Cory and I have long, when they had those Essential Judge Dredd volumes, and we have yet to see them anywhere. And nobody's called us up and said, hey, we got them, buy them from us. This one I'm kind of interested in, the Essential Judge Dredd, the Apocalypse War. Because when the citizens of Mega City 1's massive city blocks declare war on each other, Judge Dredd realizes it's merely a prologue to an all-out nuclear attack by that East Meg 1. And this actually sounds like they call it the mother of all epic Dredd stories.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Yeah, this is the one I remember reading back when Eagle did their comic book of this. Across from that is a prose novel from Al Ewing. You probably, he's only done this little book. Nobody's paying attention to Immortal Hulk. But it's his newest novel. And the description got me. In L.A., where today's star is tomorrow's busboy, discarded fictionals. Characters spun into flesh and blood by technology are everywhere. Screenwriter Niles Golan's therapist is fictional. So is his best friend. So, maybe, is the woman in the bar he can't stop staring at. It's getting so you can't tell who's real and who's not. Niles isn't completely sure how real he is. So other than Immortal Hulk, I haven't read anything from Ewing, but I will definitely pick this up and give you an idea on that. Page 296. Under Scout Comics, Scoot, sublabel, Loot. It's read the description. Orphaned at birth, serial kleptomaniac Emily Doe was luckily adopted by Viola Jackson, the cop who kept arresting her. Now grown up, sort of, Emily works for her newly retired mom in loss prevention at a big box supermarket by day, but turns her passion for theft into part-time treasure hunting on the side. So $1.99, 6-issue miniseries. Price is good. Description is interesting. Let's see. $2.98. Source Point Press. Dead End Kids, Suburban Job, a 4-issue miniseries. 7 years after the deadly events of September 11th, 3 teens struggle with the long-term fallout of that tragic day, but these former friends are brought back together when they find themselves in the crosshairs of a local drug dealer who's out for blood. Can they put their personal traumas aside long enough to work together and survive? Well, after 4-issue miniseries, I'll let you know. Or just buy it and join it with me. Let's jump to page 299. Kitty, right across from it. A couple damned cursed children. In the sudden aftermath of a series of horrifying attacks, a group of strangers are forced together in a city gone mad. How many will overcome every human instinct and do what's unimaginable to survive in a world with damned cursed children? 5-issue miniseries will tell us. And then straight down, no heroine graphic novel. Clawing her way to the 90th day sober mark, Kayla sets out to find her missing friend, the one person she knows can keep her on the straight and narrow. The only problem? Oh, there happens to be a gang of heroin-dealing vampires that have him And that's just the start. So again, $10 graphic novel sounds interesting. That's really sometimes all I ask. I will point out something on page 318. The Bloodshot Project through Valiant. The Bloodshot Project is a Heroes Initiative fundraiser. Proceeds from the sale of this book will benefit Heroes Initiative. What they did is they took and had various artists do 50 original covers to Valiant's landmark Bloodshot #1. Artists like Alan Davis, Gabriel Hardman, Bob Layton, Steve McGiven, Will Spertasio, Paulio Rivera, I missed one, Ken Lashley, and a whole lot more. These are a lot of fun. The books have extra blank pages, so if you run into your favorite artist, you can doodle in them. This also contains a reprint of 2012's Bloodshot #1, and they only do one printing of the book. Let's see. This is the soft cover. If you are a hardcover guy, that's available over, if you look up Heroes Initiative, either on their website or just go to their eBay page. As for the original 50 covers, I don't know if they're currently being auctioned off or if they have been auctioned off. They usually give them here and there and sell them for the same charity that goes for it, the Heroes Initiative. So I love these project books because you get a chance to see a lot of different artists doing a lot of different things on stuff. And Cory, I know I hate to have you, do an actual flip, but go ahead, flip your book open to the toy side and jump onto page, I believe 106. And I just need to know, Cory, are you going to order any of them?
The MODOK Tiki mugs.
Yes. I figured anything with MODOK he'd zero in on.
Not
I don't know
40,
if you're a Tiki.
Not at $45 each.
Yeah, that's about a going price for a Tiki mug, but
Psycho Susie's, man. I get a Tiki mug for $10.
yeah, but not a MODOK. Maybe
and,
you should tell
and
them
a drink is in it.
see if they can't get you a MODOK mug and then serve it to you for less. So that's it for
those that went $45.
Yeah,
That's
and
too much for
we
a
get
Tiki
like
mug.
what a
I
10,
give you $4
20%.
and you give me some rum.
Yeah, those Venom Tiki mugs look good, but I'm not big on the Tiki
What about
mugs.
the Thanos Tiki mugs? We should ask Dangerous Dan Moore if he's going to buy any of them.
Let's see.
They actually do have some masks available. If you go back on page 105, they do have some masks. More and more, I'm seeing stores starting to put in masks. I don't want this to be off topic, but I swear face masks are going to be a permanent thing now. What happened in Japan and South Korea and stuff after SARS and after some other things, people just started wearing masks all the time. And they became kind of a fashion thing where, you go to a New Japan show, they have New Japan face masks. You go to Baby Metal, they have Baby Metal face masks. More and more on Instagram, I'm seeing people making their own, kind of elaborate face masks and stuff. I think they're just going to become kind of a standard thing here in the U.S. You'll still have the people who, I ain't going to wear no, but those are the people who wear cutoff jean shorts and tank tops that they shouldn't be wearing tank tops and things like that. So that's what I think. Anyway, and comic shops, I would get in every superhero comic related mask you can and have them available for sale because us nerds will buy them.
Oh, yeah.
I even got my dad the Hangman Adam Page, I'm here to do cowboy shit face mask. Because, should make him happy.
Just because. That's it for me.
That's it for me, too. This time of year, normally, I would say, and here are our ads in some clever way, but we're not doing ads this time of year, Joe.
I know.
We're highlighting charities. And here's the charity we're highlighting this week. During the holiday season, we here at Crazy Comics and Stories and the other podcasts in the Solitaire Rose Radio Network turn our ad space over to charities, and the first charity we're going to be highlighting is the Hero Initiative. It's at heroinitiative.org. It helps comic creators in need. The Hero Initiative creates a financial safety net for comic creators who may need emergency medical aid, financial support for the essentials of life, and an avenue back to paying work. Since its inception, the Hero Initiative has been fortunate enough to benefit creators with more than $1 million worth of much-needed aid, fueled by your contributions. It's a chance for all of us to give back something to people who've given us so much enjoyment. You can donate. You can go to Humble Bundle, and there's usually a bundle there that you can purchase and give part of those proceeds. There's an eBay site where you can purchase art and books that have been donated, and there are other initiatives that you can get out on heroinitiative.org. That's heroinitiative.org, one of the charities we will be highlighting this holiday season. And I am going to be restarting up my podcasts probably early next year, probably January, and we'll talk about that in Geeking. But here are all the other podcasts that are in the Solitaire Rose Network. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs. But you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast, but on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcast that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I, and of course Wolfie B. Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions, and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio if you're a member at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And now we get to Joe's favorite part of the show. No, not where he takes the back cover of Previews, which has a super sexy drawing of Robin, R-O-B-Y-N, Hood, and places it above his bed so that his wife can't see it. No, it's Joe. What's going on the eBays? All that. Well, thanks, yeah. Joe.
Actually, we got an email.
We did?
Yeah. I'm trying to get it to expand here. Let's see. This comes from Travis. He says, must I hear from Crazy Comics and Stories? First, in episode 274 at the 1 hour, 19 minute, 16 second mark, Cory clearly states that he has seen Dracula and the 7 Golden Vampires. Quote Cory, this one I have seen once. But then, in episode 484, at the 6 minute, 31 second mark, Cory changes the story, referring to the very same film, which I have never seen. How many more lies will be uncovered? Does Cory really hate pie? Do I really love death metal? I thought I could have hold it. Once an episode, but 2 is too much.
Joe apologizes for the error.
Oh, once I get the chunks out of my nose.
And what I learned between those episodes was the movie I saw that I thought was Dracula and the Seven Golden Vampires was actually a different kung fu vampire movie. And that was pointed out to me by my friend, Tom Lang, who helped us with the Fantastic Four movie review a few years ago on April Fool's Day, and does a wonderful podcast called The Frankenstein Minute, where he talks about the Frankenstein movies minute by minute. He does a podcast for each minute of each episode, which you would think, wow, how could you get that much out of it? But when you listen to it, it's just fantastic. I told him about the movie, and he went, oh, that's not Dracula and the Seven Golden Vampires. And I went back, and I looked it up, and it was some other Shaw Brothers movie where there were kung fu disciples who became vampires and terrorized I didn't even know that there would be two movies like that. So Joe regrets the error.
I do. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, we're here to talk about the eBays, right?
Oh, yeah. They're churning away pretty good. A lot of low-end books, not tremendously valuable, but, they're things that people need. Death's Head #1 from Marvel UK. A couple Archie Giant Magazine World of Jugheads from the 76 era. One of Gladstone's Donald Duck Adventures #3. I did sell my beloved run of Following Cerebus #1 through 12. What's interesting about some of those later issues, they're booked at like $150 to $200 a piece. Just amazing. It's like when these were coming out, nobody cared, nobody was paying attention. Now everybody wants a piece of the action. Let's see, what other goodies? DC Comics Presents #43, Superman and the Legion of Superheroes fighting Mongol. Still got a few I Hate Fairylands, the FU variant cover. Gentle Ben #1. Cory, did you ever watch that show in reruns?
I did not. I remember seeing ads for it and stuff, but I never actually saw an episode.
Starring Clint Eastwood, Ron's brother.
Clint Howard, not Clint
Howard Eastwood, whatever, because I sold a Rawhide comic too. I'm looking at the Rawhide, but nice photo covers from Dell. NBC Comics. NBC Saturday Morning Comics Pro giveaway from 1991, back when they actually had cartoons in the morning. I'm just trying to look. Let's see, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound. I don't recognize anybody else, so who cares? I wasn't watching then. Let's see, Kong on Planet of the Apes. Some of these are things I bought the first issue, and then I just went out and bought the graphic novel. Sold my Oblivion song, #1 through 18. That was the run from Kirkman. I did sell off my entire Superior Spider-Man run, including the crossover with, I think it was Scarlet Spider. These are things that I've switched to graphic novels. Not in the case of Oblivion song. I don't know if I'm going to buy that or not. It was interesting, but it didn't really catch me. Maybe if I read it as graphic novels instead of comics, it might be better. Cory, do you know why Powerpuff Girls #21 is from DC Comics from 2002 is so expensive?
It's the last issue?
Nope.
Oh.
It has the first appearance of him. Him being the, obviously by looking at him, he's the devil, but they couldn't call him that. They couldn't even use his name on the network, but whenever they referred to him, the announcer would say, the Powerpuff Girls have to go up against him.
I thought him was the character who became Adam Warlock.
It could be a tie together. We just don't know. Alan Moore says all stories are carried together.
Yes, that's true. All stories are real.
There's a Mission Impossible #4 from Dell with a photo cover. This was, there's Peter Graves, Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, the whole crew. Those are fun. I like those photo covers. The last one, though, I'll talk about. Cory, did you ever collect the Mighty Heroes?
No, that was long before my time.
Well, they did do a couple reprints later on of these, so you could have maybe bought them when they were reprinting them in the 80s. But this is the first appearance of Diaper Man. No, not the one you're thinking of. This is I don't know the origin of the Mighty Heroes. Was it a TV show?
Yes.
Yeah. So Dell did a comic book, and it considered. Let's see. Cuckoo Man, Tornado Man, Strong Man, Rope Man, and Diaper Man. And also appearance of Heckle and Jekyll, but probably separate story. So this was just Dell probably just doing what Dell does, getting a TV property and printing out a comic book on it. It's too bad. It would be kind of interesting to see if like a Dell comic type entity could exist these days, but I don't think they could. The licensing being asked for by some of these properties. We were talking earlier about the DC Comics. No, we didn't talk about the latest DC Comics news. Are we saving that for Freaking?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll talk about. I'm going to circle back to this because it'll tie into that conversation. I don't want to start it too quick. I've been putting up stuff like crazy, and we're heading into Black Friday season where I'm going to get together with Lisa and what's the new name for Butch?
Bunkhouse Butch.
Bunkhouse Butch.
And the reason for that is on this week's AEW Dynamite, they had a bunkhouse match, which is basically, no rules.
Yeah.
And it was Butcher and the Blade versus Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. And
wasn't that a 70s episode starring William Conrad, Butcher and the Blade? No, never mind.
That's Jake and the Fat Man.
Oh, whoa. We don't call him Fat now.
Well, that was the series name.
Oh, okay.
And how would you like to be, the guy who says, well, we're calling this show Jake and the Fat Man. And William Conrad goes, well, I'm Jake, right? And they go,
yeah, Jake.
No. But Butcher is beaten down on Dustin Rhodes outside, and JR calls him Bunkhouse Butch. And then they talk about how that's a great name for a wrestler. If I were reincarnated as a wrestler, I'd be calling myself Bunkhouse Butch. Well, we have our own Butch, and he is now Bunkhouse Butch. And
now just like if you want some good deals, come to Crazy on my eBay store. That's KRAYZ. You can go through the links on Cory's Facebook page. I post them here and there everywhere. Or just go ebay.com/store, STR /Crazy Comics and Stuff. You can even Google that and you'll find it. I'm going to be doing one of my infamous Black Friday sales. But as a valued listener of this here show, if you see anything you're interested in, send me a note. So click on the link for whatever it is you're looking at and contact seller about this merchandise, and then you'll be able to send me a link and say, I should say an eBay email, and it'll say, hey Joe, I listened to the store, I'm interested in this. That's all you got to say, and I will give you an offer you can't possibly refuse. Because on Black Friday, I'll open up that type of for the public. And folks, this time of year, I'm thinking, well, maybe 50%. Not everything can go that, but I've been known to do weird things for our listeners. Back when I used to charge shipping, I do free shipping. I've hand delivered a few things. I've sent out comics where one guy said, "Oh my gosh, you just sent me the comics I needed to finish my run," and that wasn't even what I bought. So I may even give you one of those new keys I got for the Strode compound.
Wait,
although the
what?
problem is he's there 24/7, so I would advise if you are going to try to check out the place, bring some pie. You know how you throw meat to Dobermans and try to get them to get their attention? Just set down a pie and Cory will come out and eat it, and you can just slip in behind him. But you don't want to be trapped in there. Trust me. That's the only warning you got, my friends. Crazy, KROE. I can't even spell anymore. You know where it is. Come get some.
And now my favorite part of the show. No, not where I corner the market on the Lifesavers Hard Candy Sweet Storybooks.
I thought it was when you go to Walmart and discover they are still making Honey Smack cereal. Dig them.
No, it's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you geeking on? I'm sorry, what are you freaking on?
Thank you.
It's been a long show.
This will kind of tie into the eBay stuff, but here's how you don't sell something to somebody. I send them a question, is it for sale? No, yes, it is. I say, cool. I'm going to save up some money. And if it's still available, I'll get back to it. And then he sent me a scathing, Well, what are you talking about? You're a comic dealer. You're selling plenty of stuff. You should have money ready to go. Maybe you shouldn't be buying so many comics. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? I'm like, dude, hey, you don't know my personal
Chill
finances.
out, dude.
How many times have I said, folks, my truck is effed. I need to do some eBay sales and ask you guys for help. I'm like, and this was an expensive comic. This is one of the not a gold, how would you say, a holy grail? So I say golden grail, but that's just because I haven't eaten lunch yet. But yeah, no, that's not the way you sell comics. You don't. And, I just laughed off and sent a nice note back. Hey, you sound like my wife. I've been collecting since 1978, and she'll probably agree with you. So, and the weird thing was, somebody else put up the same book. I just bought it from them. Made an offer. Oh, I didn't tell this guy that. I'm not that type. I'm not looking for conflict. I just, what kind of dickwad move is that? Hey, maybe you shouldn't be collecting comics. Well, fuck you. I'm not going to buy yours then, am I? Maybe that's what he was looking for. Me escalate it, but or say, oh no, you're right. Please, let me buy your comic book for you. So he could go, nope, not selling to you. Whatever, dude. It's just, it comes a time in every man's life when he needs to buy a stronger prescription glass, and I did. Hated it. Cory, you have looked through life through Coke bottle glasses for a long time. When you're looking through your glasses, do you have to look just straight ahead with no use of your peripheral vision, or do your glasses allow you to use your peripheral vision?
Oh, my glasses allow peripheral vision.
For some reason, mine don't. I got new bifocals, and I wasn't expecting the bifocals, so when I put on the glasses, I was like, holy cow, what's going on here? I'm to the point where very, very small print, I need reader glasses. I don't usually see a lot of small print in my life. I have a lit magnifying glass when I'm looking for that, what they call that dumb thing in the bottom of a comic that tells you page, issue number, first print. Indica. Yeah, I can't read those anymore, especially when they put them like brown lettering on black background. So I have a magnifying glass for that. So it took me a while to get used to the bifocals in it, especially when you're in a car and you're trying to, find the sweet spot. For some reason, my glasses, though, cut off my peripheral vision. It's like I only have tunnel vision straight ahead. If I try to look left or right, it's fuzzy. Oh, yeah, that's normal. No, it's not. So I'm just, again, this, glasses are $300. I'm going to bring them back after we're done hearing this podcast and just tell the person, listen, I cannot use these glasses. You either have to remove that or just take them back, and I'll go back to the doctor and say, hey, why can't I do this? Because it's nuts. I mean, literally, I have to move my head 90 degrees to look in my rearview mirror, which means I have to take my full attention off the road when I'm driving with these glasses. And there's always that half second it takes for my eyes to focus on what I'm looking at. So when I'm looking straight ahead, I'm fine. And I finally figured out the bifocal sweet spot so I can actually look at my odometer and gas and things like that. Again, there's this half second, millisecond of my eyes focusing, which is like, that's all it takes for a good accident to occur. But man, they were telling me, oh yeah, you'll get used to them. No, I was doing some shopping the other day and I felt like I was swimming. Every time I move my eyes, even 45 degrees or 30 degrees or wherever, no, it sucks. So, and I wanted to check. Chris says she doesn't have the same thing. I told her, stand there. Now looking where you're looking, move your eyes and look at me. Is it fuzzy? That's the way it is on my glasses. Unacceptable. So I imagine I'll be revisiting this topic next week. Let's see. Where the hell are my omnibuses? Okay, I covered that earlier in the show. What is with all the Bendis hate out there? People just absolutely hate Michael Bendis. And they aren't people you can talk with. Like, well, why don't you like his writing? More importantly, why are you buying the comics he's writing if you hate him so?
Yes.
Because it's kind of like, oh, he just butchered story. He's terrible. I said, no, these are not quantitative discussion points. If you don't like a writer or an artist, don't buy the books. 2 examples I got back when I had Crazy Comics. I believe Rob Liefeld did a 2-issue story of, I think it was New Teen or He's either New Teen Titans or Teen Titans, whatever they called them back then. And I didn't order any for the shelf because I knew there were going to be a couple people that come in and they're not completists. It's like, I can't read this story because he's doing 2 issues. It's not a knock on Rob. They don't like his art. That's fine. A lot of people kept the art. But man, just the hate on there is just, it's crazy. You know, I'm glad Bendis is gone, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I don't like what he's doing on Legion of Superheroes. Well, don't buy it then. I happen to enjoy what he's doing on Legion of Superheroes. I wasn't all that great on his Superman run, and I'll probably just finish it to collect it too. eBay it. But, you know, if he writes something, I will check it out because I do enjoy him. I just wish it was more, I don't know, it's just Facebook hate, you know. I hate Slatter. I mean, let's put it this way. Here's a test. Cory, they just did something absolutely new by Steve Ditko. Never before seen, looking to be hot. However, Vince Coletta inked him.
I'll still buy it.
Yeah. But see, you didn't, you know, whatever. Anyways, that's it for me freaking. How about you, Cory? What you freaking on?
As I am reading older comics, I've read some of the Captain Savage books that Marvel did. Joe, do you know who the Captain Savage is?
I do. An odd collecting phase I went through. For some reason, I was collecting all the Captain cover number 1s I could find. And Captain Savage was one of them. Never read it, though.
Oh, it is a spin-off of Sergeant Fury. Captain Savage was in the Navy, so they were in Japan. And it was drawn by Dick Ayers and written by Gary Friedrich, same as Sergeant Fury was at the time. They gave him his own team, just like the Howling Commandos. And oh my God, it's one of the most racist things I've ever read. There's a Native American on there who talks like Tonto from the 1940s Lone Ranger, not even the 60s Lone Ranger, the 1940s Lone Ranger. Every slur against Japanese people you've ever heard in your life is used. They're drawn with big buck teeth and slanty eyes and colored as if they're made out of lemons. And the stories, it would be okay if the stories were fun at all in any way, shape, or form. They're not. It's just Captain Savage carrying 2 pistols and the other guys, and the Japanese are too stupid to stop these 6 Americans who have no strategy other than run in and shoot. And the Japanese soldiers, they create these elaborate plans that are always taken down by run in and shoot everything. I can see why it didn't last that long, because I imagine even in the 60s, people, you know, in the 60s, we were moving away from racist portrayals, and people would pick this up and go, dear God, and put it down. DC's layoffs, according to Brian Hibbs and other people who work in comics retail, they just decimated the direct sales department. They decimated the people who handle everything at conventions and promotions and things like that. And there are people who are saying, well, DC's going to get out of comics altogether. I don't think they'll get out of comics altogether. I think this is very much a AOL, not AOL. Who was it bottom up? AT&T bottom up.
Yeah.
And because HBO Max has cratered so hard, they're just we got to cut costs. Anybody who makes over this amount of money, get rid of them. If you've been here more than this many years, get rid of them. You know, if you're not part of this structure, get rid of them. And DC had a lot of people who'd been there for a long time. And the easiest way to show your stockholders that you're, you know, if you're losing money, they're always going to fire people, because then they can say, look at all these costs we've saved. And the stock will go back up, and the people on the board of directors and the CEO who get paid in stock will get more money. So this is typical corporate shenanigans. Over at Disney, they're being a little more precise with their cuts. There were huge cuts at ESPN Do you know why that is, Joe?
No sports.
There are no sports, so they've got all these people at ESPN are just sitting around making a salary. You can handle that for a while, but eventually they're just going to, hey, your division hasn't made money for 3 quarters. We got to let people go. I imagine that as sports come back, they will hire up again, but who knows what's going to happen with entertainment. NBC had a sitcom that was based around the pandemic because it was people on Zoom. Well, I think they only aired 1 or 2 episodes and pulled it. More and more, it's, okay, more game shows. How many game shows does ABC have now? Like 8? More game shows, more reality shows, more competition, more singing competitions, because they don't have to worry about doing those in studios and with crews and stuff. I watch The Daily Show and the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Yeah, they've been working out of their houses for almost a year now. I can't even imagine if they go back to, one of the things is they have the band on the Stephen Colbert Show. How are they still employing those people? Because they're just playing the same song that they've had recorded months ago. The band's not performing during the commercials because there's no audience to entertain during the commercials. We're going to see a lot of changes in entertainment. Marvel seems to be weathering it very well. Again, when they did their talk to the business people, Joe Quesada said we are still making more money than we ever have. Our inroads into scholastic book fairs and libraries and bookstores is very successful. It's one of the reasons why they're doing more of the smaller size trade paperbacks, because those are the ones that fit in the racks they have at Target, that fit in the racks they have at Walmart, that fit in the racks that they have at other bookstores. And the last thing I am freaking on, Chris Claremont was given a story assignment. Joe, ask why I'm freaking about that.
Is he taking over all of Marvel again? Is he going to be the Supreme Editor-in-Chief?
No, he tripped and broke his hand.
Oh, my.
So he's having to type out his stuff on one hand, and he says, this is the first time I've worried about a deadline in years because my typing speed is now less than a third of what it was.
Oh.
They've kept him on the shelf for years. They finally say, okay, we're going to have you do something, and he gets injured and he can't write. So, Joe, what are you geeking on? All that, huh?
Yeah. No, we had another COVID scare in the Ryder household.
Ooh.
I don't call it a scare.
Why is that a geeking?
Well, because we all came up negative.
Oh, good.
So they had this. It was just saliva test this time, not the Q-tip up the nose, and it was all done online. It was actually, I think, more of one of these mass testing sites because they used the Roy Wilkins Auditorium downtown St. Paul. And you either make an appointment or just walk in. And while it was steady, it wasn't lined up. The fire chief had as many as his guys that could go through. He said it only took him 40 minutes. It took us less than 15 because we had an appointment. We went in. Basically, you register online and you put everything in online. You go through, everything's spaced far enough apart. They had a good flow. We get to the table and you open up your kit and it says, okay, first of all, use hand sanitizer. And what you do is you've got to do a vial that's maybe a 1/4 inch across. It's got a funnel, so you don't have to worry about missing it. It says you got to fill it up to the line. So I'm a rather juicy guy. I come up and got it halfway full. This will be easy. Next one. It didn't even move. Oh my God, you'd be surprised how dry your mouth gets when you have to perform. And the thing is, you're not supposed to eat or drink or do any of that beforehand because they're trying to detect apparently the virus, since it obviously is spread through aerial droplets. It obviously is in your mouth. So It was a quick test compared to the nose tests. I don't know how accurate they are, but the scare was more. Chris and I went to like an outdoor bonfire thing where everybody was socially distanced and not a lot of cross contamination because it was outside. And one of the women who was there, who works as a nurse, is now positive for it. So, and she told us, and so we did the right thing. We went out and tested it. And I was a little worried because then it's like, well, Chris and I are actually going up north in a couple of weeks. So not the next podcast, but the podcast after. I have no idea what Cory's doing, but I'll be up north, so I don't care either. The only caveat with my trip, I've given you over a month warning. The only caveat I have is that, things aren't going great anywhere. It's possible they may decide between the next 2 weeks just to shut it down, which would be interesting because I don't know how that would affect me at work. Speaking of work, I'm doing training for Checkpoint. It's going okay. It's a lot of it's coming back, because it's things I've done. I just haven't done it in 5 years. I didn't have to worry about it. And as we do the training, like I said, I got 2 weeks of class. As of this podcast, I've done one. I've got one more, and then we're on vacation. So I don't go back to actual work till December. Let's see, where's my handy dandy guy? December 2nd. So, and then I get to do on-the-job training. Oh, yeah, yay. Which will be tough because I'm at a slower terminal and traffic is, I don't know what they're doing. It's really getting bad. Speaking of bad, I was going to tack this on, but this is something I get to look forward to. We had ourselves a good old bomb scare at Minneapolis. Somebody called in and said, I left a pipe bomb, and if you don't give me $10,000 and drive up, pick it up, I'm going to let it go. And which, first of all, tells whoever called in was not a terrorist, because if a terrorist is just trying to make panic, they tend to call and warn before it happens, because one of two things, they just want to create the panic. They want to get the publicity, and then when they come out and say, we did it, it was me, they want the publicity. Second thing, and more how would you say, ominous, sometimes they just do it to see what the response is. TSA, I don't know if TSA was affected because they had to close the checkpoint, close the baggage area I was working in. Most of that's taken care of by the police. Even St. Paul, Bloomington, Minneapolis, they brought in their bomb ordinances, the bomb sniffing dogs. They didn't find anything. But and the thing is, what is disturbing is, this is the 7-year anniversary of the TSA agent that was shot out west. So just a lot of angst. This could have been a geeking or freaking, but the geeking was not. There was nothing there. It was just a false alarm. As long as I'm talking about geeking, let's talk about how to cancel a sale on the eBays. I know it should be a freaking, but somebody texted me and said, hey, I'm sorry, I bought this from you, I just can't do it, I would like to cancel the sale. I'm like, okay, fine, cancel the sale. He hadn't paid for it, so it was easy. Generally what happens is I send a notice in to eBay saying, hey, we both decided to cancel the sale, and that person now has to approve, yes, I do, which is really weird because yesterday it was quick emails back and forth, and I sent the thing, I haven't heard from him since. So it's like, dude, it's in your court. Go to the form, say, yes, I agree. Because if I disagree, then it's on me that for some reason I'm not selling it. The other alternative is I just wait a week, report him as a non-paying bidder, and then you get a strike against you. You do too many strikes, you're off of eBay. So, but that's the way you cancel a sale. You don't cancel a sale by sending threatening emails back at the person who canceled the sale. Not that I ever had that happen to me. Again, eBay etiquette, some people don't have it, and your question, I just think of those people as like the comic book guy from Simpsons. So, whatever. Let's see. Reading. Did some actual reading because, as I mentioned, it was Box Day yesterday, or maybe I didn't mention it, but it was. So I picked up a couple things, read the last 2 issues of Young Justice, again by Bendis. One of those books that I'm absolutely loving. Obviously, AT&T doesn't because they canceled it with issue 20, but they left it with a good series. So now it's an open-ended series. The characters are there, whether they come back or not. Well, they're not. So just enjoy it for what it was. I did get a copy of Paul is Dead When the Beatles Lost McCartney by
Yes.
Paolo Baron and Ernesto Carbonetti. This is a fictionalized version. Paolo loves the Beatles, and he just kind of puts his fictional spin on what if all this stuff about Paul was initially true? What if it was true? And it deals a lot with how John's reacting because him and Paul were best mates. And the art is really good. And I don't want to give away too much, but as a Beatle fan, this is one of those books that I recommend. In the back, it says, John Lennon can't speak, can't take his eyes off the photo of a car in flames with Paul McCartney's body inside. His friend is no longer there. That means the Beatles are no longer there either. But John wants to know the truth, and with George and Ringo, he will begin to re-examine the final hours of Paul's life. And this is set during the Abbey Road sessions during the Sgt. Pepper album being recorded. So it's a speculative fiction steeped in music history. So I definitely recommend it. It came out from Image and should be available either for order or wherever you pick up your fine stuff. Next up on my reading block, I got my next issue of Headlocked from, again, an illustrated serial drama by Michael Kingston. Comes with cover art by Jerry the King Lawler. And as you hear, this was part of his Kickstarter. I'm opening it up. Take a look at it. And it's a tour of the Headlocked universe with stories co-created by the biggest stars in wrestling. Let's see. J. Christian Resto, Christopher Daniels, MVP, Shane Hurricane Helms, Gangrel, Rob Van Dam, Samoa Joe, the Young Bucks. So not only is he tapping into real wrestlers with their stories, and it's fictionalized account. Ric Flair wrote one in the previous book, and they didn't refer to WWE or that was Ric Flair or that it was his daughter, but you know what he's talking about, and they made it obvious. What's fun is that the book I got is not only did Jerry the King Lawler do the cover, but he autographed it, and then Michael autographed it too. His first 4 books, I believe, are available, and I'm looking. It's www.headlockedcomics.com. And I advise if you're a wrestling fan or you just want some fun graphic novels, and it goes directly to Mike because I don't think his stuff's being solicited through Preview, so that's worth checking out. My wife and I have been banging through Futurama, and we got to the seasons I have never watched. And I'm talking, this was seasons. I think this is when they
Comedy Central, right?
Yeah, because what they did is they did like the first 4 were a tied-in series called Bender's Big Score, and then the next one was Beast with a Billion Backs. I'm sorry, and then we got through the 3rd one, Bender's Game, and they're a lot of fun. Absolute fun, especially the first run because they're referring to the fact that they're back. There's so many cameos. The jokes go crazy. Heck, when you're in Bender's Game, the pop culture references fly faster than we do on this here podcast. We're watching them through Hulu because we get that now through the Disney Channel package we get. The next up is the last of the miniseries, Into the Wild Green Yonder, and I think that's the end. We did watch the Simpsons episode, which actually stands as kind of a capper to the season or the entire run. Although, as of 2013, there's a lot of, we may bring this back. Well, I can't imagine the money to do it, but you'd think with all the Netflixes and all that poking around, they might, but then again, they're making more money doing their own original shows. So, the final thing I'm going to talk about is basically just a friend's business. It has nothing to do with anything comic related. But I have a friend. She's has her own business going, Main Street Hair Solutions in Woodbury, Minnesota. And if you're interested, she does hair, she does nails. Obviously, this has been a real trying time for her with the pandemic and the shutdowns and all the extra precautions she has to take. But she's in the Within Salons, which is, let's see, it's 8160 Collarway D, Suite 37 in Woodbury, Minnesota. What I bring up is she's basically jumped on board this wigs, selling wigs to, well, mostly for women. But these aren't the cheap advertised $29 one. These are the ones that women wear because they range anywhere from $200 to $600, and they actually look like real hair. The only reason I know she wears them is because occasionally I'll see her and she's changed her hair so much that it's like, okay, there's no way. It's a personal thing. But these wigs are really, really good. If you know anybody, either through cancer or hot hair loss or whatever, that needs a decent wig, give her a call. And because she is a wig and topper consultant, she sells the quality stuff, not at the cheap price. And and she just wants us to know when they advertise that a wig is 100% natural, when relating to fiber, it's not human hair, it's the fiber. If it were human, it would say human hair. There. Now you know something more about wigs. So anyways, again, Main Hair Street Salon Solutions, Main Hair, strike all that. I'm getting way too dry mouth. You think I'm at a COVID test or something. Main Street Hair Solutions. Tell her Crazy Joe Ryder sent you. I don't know. She'd probably say, I'm sorry you know him. But again, if you know someone that's in that solution, I believe she does consultations over the phone. You can find her on Facebook or at her website, mainstreethairsolutions.com. Cory, what you geeking on?
Joe, you talked about having a vacation.
Yes.
Thanksgiving is coming. That's the one time of year where I get 4 days off because I get Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
I get the day after Thanksgiving where we will be running around and geeking all over the place. And then I do not work at the group home that Saturday. And then that Sunday I go into the group home at 10 p.m. for a sleep shift. I have 4 days off in a row. And I'm really geeking about that because it's a week and a half off. Of course, we're in our busiest time, so I have to put in 10 to 12-hour days before that. But I'm looking forward to it. Also, for Thanksgiving, this year for the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Turkey Day, they had people vote on their favorite episodes, and they'll be showing 6 episodes that we as fans selected. So that's always fun. There's also 3 football games on, so lots of TV to watch. Comic-wise, in my last box day, I got 2 issues of back issue. One was a special about the new Teen Titans by Wolfman and Perez. And one of these days, you and I should just do a special episode on that
Oh,
series.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And then the other one that I haven't read yet that is on my reading list for tonight is the superhero romance issue. The Many Loves of Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark, the Star Sapphire villain history, superhero weddings, Elongated Man and Sue, Aunt May and Doc Ock. Wait, what? The Human Torch and Alicia. What? Supergirl's Secret Marriage and more. By the way, Joe, who was Supergirl's boyfriend in the 60s?
I don't know.
Comet the Super Horse. Yeah, comics were kind of creepy. And book-wise, I have 2 books from my last book day that I read this weekend. The first is the final volume of Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. This was a series by Sean McKeever and Takeshi Miyazawa. They then did a second mini-series written by Terry Moore, who you just mentioned, and Craig Rossaro. This was a really fun series, kind of Spider-Man from Mary Jane's point of view. And it was aimed at, it was back in the aughts, the 2000s, aimed at the young adult market through manga. That was Marvel's first attempt where they had manga style series. Another one of the series in that line, I think it was called Tsunami, was Sentinel, which was about a young mutant who had a pet sentinel. And The Human Torch by Scotty Young, which I remember at the time going, oh my God, this book is great. And most people were like, who cares? And I would continuously say, but it's this Scotty Young guy. He's really good. He's really good. Who cares? Now it's Scotty Young. People need to listen to me. And then reaching back into the 90s, there is the second volume of Ms. Tree. This is Skeleton in the Closet. Ms. Tree is by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty. This reprints the rest of the DC Mystery Quarterly stories in a nice little graphic novel here. They are now going to go back and reprint the original Mystery, because one of the things that they talk about is when you do series reprints, usually you're reprinting the early stuff. And for Mystery, they feel like they really didn't know what they really didn't gel with the series until later. But they knew that if they started reprinting the first issues, it might not sell well enough to continue into reprinting these stories. So they wanted to reprint these first. They felt that the stuff they did for the Mystery Quarterly was their best work. These are fantastic hard-boiled mystery stories. This is the comic that got me to read crime novels. I didn't read crime novels before this because I didn't know much about them. I read science fiction and fantasy. And then when I started reading Ms. Tree, it's like, oh, Max Allan Collins writes novels. And his novels would have in the back, oh, here are the writers that I like. And it kind of branched me out into crime fiction, which is now my favorite sort of fiction. So the Ms. Tree books, both of them are fantastic. But this one is Skeleton in the Closet. Such a really great book. And God, I just love Terry Beatty's art because it's almost Ditko-esque in how the storytelling is done, and even at a reduced size, it's just a fantastic read. You don't lose any of the detail in the art. And I am really looking forward to reading tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff over the Thanksgiving break, but also in December, the week before Christmas, because Christmas week, everybody takes all that off. But they ignore the week before Christmas. So I am taking off the week before Christmas because I'm not really a Christmas person. I'm a Festivus person. And I have all sorts of time off before the end of the year, Joe.
Slacker.
Damn right I'm a slacker. In that time, I'm going to work on podcasts. I'm going to work on a mystery project. And be reading a big old stack of comic books, which is the best thing in the world. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for over 2 hours. Both our voices are shot.
Yep. We're losing it.
And I have to mix this today still.
Woohoo!
So I want to thank you for listening. And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Let's see, put on the list. Dad joke, come get some. My previews talked about. All right, I think we're done, Cory. I feel like dancing. Hit my music.